that, getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Sim Racers Group Formula 4 on SMB. JR Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, my partner, Kennen Miller. Tonight's producer, Marty Czekala. 2025 Season 3 is here, and that means a brand new season of F4 competition here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And Week 1 takes us to Connecticut's Lime Rock Park, opened in 1956. This is the third oldest continuously operating track in the U.S., current host to ARCA, Craftsman Trucks, and Trans Am Racing. Past host, of course, to IMSA. Fairly short track here, 1.5 miles, 9 corners, including the chicane replacing the old turn 5. And Kennen, we're looking at some tight confines here at Lime Rock and a brand new group of racers. What are you looking for out of these cars and drivers tonight?
It's really a beautiful day, JR, to be in Lakeville, Connecticut at the 9-turn club car course, I guess many would describe it, at the Lime Rock Park. It's a very simple track. You do have a couple technical parts, especially we'll definitely see a lot of action down at the chicane near the end of the lap, but most of it's very high speed, very flowing. It is a very good passing opportunity in turn 1 with the double apex right-handers, so we should see just the way the lap times are looking right now in practice. Top 10 are separated by a second. It ought to be a wonderful race.
Yeah, and looking forward to this one. And because we're just starting the season, if you are new to watching Sim Racers Group F4 racing here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, I can tell you we are running a generic FIA F4 spec car. It's 1,200 pounds, 160 horsepower. Damage is off here tonight. The emphasis here is on seat time, so they don't want cars crashing out of these races. So if there's any incidents on track, these cars will be repaired and stay underway here. Also, we're heading into open qualifying here shortly, so no solo qualifying. Just like in the real world, when qualifying starts, you got to get out there and do your best with a track full of people. And let's see here. Something else to know about this series. We do have some competitors gathered at the Sim Racers Group brick and mortar facility in East San Jose, California. So up to 10 of these drivers are actually sitting over at the SRG facility together, participating in this one, with the remainder being online as is usual for iRacing. So a great program here, developmental program, and success here can lead to the F3 series, which is brand new on Slow Motion Broadcasting starting tomorrow night. So you want to stay with us, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, and hit notify so you don't miss any of the action. But we will be back with some of last year's F4 hot drivers in new F3 cars at Imola, and you'll want to stay with us for that. So qualifying underway now. We got Josh Leslie so far leading the pack ahead of Sean Odell and Vase there. And as I said, open qualifying. We got about 12, 13 minutes remaining here. And and there is a little kerfuffle, and that auto damage repair is going to spring into action. And I'll tell you, Kennen, the automatic repair gremlins or genies, whatever you want to call them, are going to be busy here at Lime Rock tonight. This is a very tight track and a brand new field of drivers.
Certainly going to be a tight track. Compared to last season when we were broadcasting, it will be a slightly smaller field than what we were used to seeing, and the times between all the drivers will be a little closer together than the differences of 3 different class groups out there on one track. So it really opens up the door for a lot of different drivers to really be able to kind of shine, show their talents, not get too overcrowded. It even affects, we talked about it every time last season, but the way the track would be so packed, it could be hard to run a qualifying lap time even with 15 minutes to try and get a good time in. So you see a little better space, people get a little better times. You see Lloyd Conway's just put a nice run at the top of the board. And I don't know who that was, but that was a very narrow miss. So it's a tight move by Van Wagner there.
Yeah, ready to get along with Van Wagner, and somebody on the binders a little early than he was looking for. Riding with Van Wagner now through this difficult chicane, and this is going to be a very tough part of this race, Kennen. You got to thread the needle right there and stay off of those red anti-cut curbs. They are pretty high. You can have some violent hits there, and they would definitely upset these F4 cars. They don't like running over the low curbs, and those red ones are pretty brutal right there.
Yeah, and the flowing left and right leading up to that chicane, it really opens up a door for side-by-side racing. Problem is when you get to the chicane, you have to kind of decide who's going through first, or if we're going to have a crash. That's really the only way you can get through. There's no opportunity for side-by-side through the chicane. You kind of have to back it down and settle in, and that's where you see a lot of people use strategy. They may peek the corner and see if somebody's willing to give it up, try and keep the car safe. So that, I think, will be the hot spot throughout the entire 20-minute race.
Yeah, and these drivers are going to have to show some discipline there. As you point out, Kennen, that is not a side-by-side opportunity at all, and they're going to have to cooperate and line up to go up that chicane that replaces the old turn 5. And qualifying winding about a third of the way through here now, 5 minutes out of 15. Lloyd Conway up on the pole. He was the fast man in practice. We saw him put down some high 50-second lap time. So these tires do take a little while to come on, 2, 3, maybe 4 laps on this short course, and you can tell the tires are starting to come on now. And Lloyd, provincial pole sitter right now, Lloyd Conway, you see him there in the 77 car, and he was the hot man in practice, and you see him picking his way through traffic. My goodness, only 14 cars out here, and Kennen, can you imagine last season's field of about 40 cars trying to do an open qualifying session here at Lime Rock? That would be nuts.
See Swanback getting a little wide there, last season's champion. So that'll be, actually that wasn't last season's champion. I apologize to Dan Bujek on that, but Yeah, it's interesting. You have to push it really hard. It is one of the few tracks you still see with natural grass along the side. So there's not really any room for error. There's no extra runoffs. You see it almost coming right into the attenuator of the two cars in front of him. That's going to certainly hurt the lap time, as if going wide, I guess, in turn one didn't already do that.
Yeah, Swanbeck getting held up a little bit by traffic here, and that is one of the advantages of the extra time here. We still have a lot of time left in qualifying, but track already looking a little crowded here, and a little bit of a slipstream here. Not a huge amount. We'll see if Swanbeck tries to stick it inside of turn one. It looks like he does, and we'll jump over to Vase now, currently sitting in P7. He's about 1.3 seconds off of pole, and a pretty wide spread of lap times that we're seeing here. Kennen, looks like about 6-second gap between P1 and P14 right now. So probably some new drivers out here. There very well could be some drivers here who this is their first time in one of these F4 cars, and that's really the purpose of this F4 competition by Sim Racers Group, is to open the door, give people kind of a safe, welcoming environment to try their hand at open wheel racing and try to work their way up the ladder to F3.
You see it, especially between second place through ninth, just about. I mean, they're all covered within 7/10 of each other. We're just coming to halfway in qualifying, so everybody should get a good 4 or 5 more good high-speed laps, depending on the traffic. That you'll see times improve, and yeah, I think you just watched everybody. Sean O'Dell actually being the first driver to break under 51 seconds, 50.986. So you'll see the time start to increase this last half. I think the cars are starting to come in, fuel's getting low. The quick times are still ahead.
And some cars going into the pits I'm seeing right now. Not really sure why they would be doing that. I guess they might want to try some fresh tires, and I guess that outlap being pretty short here, you can afford to do that on some of the longer tracks. You wouldn't want to waste the time taking the outlap and getting those tires back up to temp. But yeah, it looks like Sean O'Dell, the first driver to break that 51-second barrier. I'm looking for Conway to do something similar. I think we saw Conway put down a 50.8, I want to say, during the practice session. So Conway definitely at the pointy end of this field, but so far O'Dell has pipped him by just 3/100ths. Josh Leslie hanging around there about 1200ths behind Conway. So taking a look now at Leslie as he makes his way on from the no-name straight up the back chicane here and onto the back straight. And Kennen, right here, you know, with these cars being momentum cars, as we kind of repeatedly talked about last season, very important not to overslow for some of these corners. And that turn 9 last corner onto the front straight is a great example of that. You've got to keep the speed up across the apex. These things don't have a lot of power to make up for mistakes under braking, and you have to have a really precise turn in. Here we're going to see it right here. That's Navas coming onto the front straight. Got to have that. Got to have that turn in completely nailed and have your foot to the floor. And Navas throws down a heater. Looks like he has pipped O'Dell now by 2/100. So the lap time's starting to come in. Still plenty of time left here, and we're kind of starting to see what the pointy end of this field is going to do. We may see him getting close to the 50-second mark, although I don't think with this group we're going to see anybody breaking it, but they'll be taking some more bites out of that 50.9 here as the qualifying session continues.
You can see all the drivers every shot we go to. They're all risking it, touching grass, going a little wide. That turn 9, it really is a killer to your lap time. The inside curve is a lot thicker than what it appears on the TV. So when you get into that thing, it'll unsettle the car real bad. It'll send you out wide to the left into the grass. You really can lose or gain a lot of time hitting that corner right. A lot of the corners, they really come down. They're very flowing. You see a 22 car there. Who was that? Maybe went off wide. So you got lots of cars going wide. Everybody's getting everything they can out of the cars. I'd be surprised if we've seen the fastest time yet in qualifying.
Yeah, we're going to see some more time. And Conway left a lot of that exit kind of on the table there. And again, with these momentum cars, you want to... Woo! There's a little conflict there on the entry to turn 1. That is Josh Leslie, and he has taken a bite out of his qualifying time, moving up into P4 now provisionally, and only 1600ths back of Novice in P1s right now. Up top, it is Novice from Odell, from Conway, from Leslie, from Van Wagner, your top 5. And 11 minutes in now, only about 4 minutes remaining, probably 3 or 4 good laps. And another thing to know about these qualifying sessions, if you cross start finish before the timer reaches 0, you'll get to finish that lap that you're on. So our qualifying session likely to continue past the 15-minute mark if you are watching that timer on the upper left of your screen.
You can see we have seen Jim Cotcher finally come back outside Nathan. They're just turning the first laps. They have been a little slower, 54, 55 seconds, but they haven't put down as many laps in qualifying. I kind of wonder if they were waiting on the track to sort of clear up. They had a little issue to take care of, but I mean, most of the field right now, it looks like this could be one of anybody's races depending on how you manage the mistakes. We talk about it and we saw it a lot. I mean, you are given the grace of not having the damage and the time to repair, but you go off course, you hit a wall, you're certainly going to be slowed down. And I think anybody in the top 11 right now is willing to take advantage of it if it happens.
Yeah, for sure. And with the track being this short, we did see back markers become an issue in some of the races last season. On some of the longer courses, it does not happen. But on this 1.5 mile short circuit here in Connecticut, we're almost certain to see back markers play a role before this one is over. So even the people up front, they may look like they're driving away, but they're going to have to negotiate traffic before this 20-minute sprint is over. And taking a look at Novice right there, taking a little trip into the grass here, so this lap will not count for strict qualifying here at Lime Rock. And here comes Sean Odell, and not a lot of movement up top. We had a couple heaters about halfway through the session, and that may have been the tires on these F4 cars hitting their sweet spot, as not a lot of improvements being seen, and still people diving into the pits here. I'm not really sure why that's happening, and we'll see if we can find that out for you before the broadcast is over.
I can assume is if you've kind of given it all you've got on the tires, you do have time to get your tires on, get back out there. I guess you don't have to add fuel to the car in qualifying, so you could just take fresh tires, keep the car light, maybe see if you can put together one flying lap, but I don't know if it'll be enough time to turn off the fastest lap. It seems like the fastest lap always comes more around lap 2, lap 3 in the run when you really got the heat and the tires maximized.
Yeah, and taking a look here at Jim Cotcher. That last name is familiar, and we were wondering if that is a relative of another Cotcher that we have seen move up into F3, and somebody blinking temporarily out of existence there. You never like to see that when you're on the track. And yeah, that is Cotcher trying out both sides of the lawn there at Lime Rock and see if he can keep it out of the Armco. And I'm going to say no, but as I said, damage off. Back with Jose Novice now, and still trying to improve on his time of a 50.9. And yeah, I think you're right, Kennen. I think we were kind of stuck in the high 50s right now. We may have seen the best laps that we're going to see. And again, traffic potentially playing a role. It looks like some of these guys are having a difficult time getting a clean one in.
Yeah, it did. And then I did notice, I mean, you can get a little bit of a draft on the front straightaway, whether you just kind of have to time it right. If the guy in front of you is a little too slower through the chicane, it's not really going to benefit. But if you get paired up with somebody pretty equal, you can probably use the draft a little bit to your advantage on the straightaway in this kind of Formula 4 car.
Yeah, the draft definitely, working there as you see Conway going evasive, and just that little weave. As we say, these are momentum cars, and just that little juke to miss that slow car took off a huge chunk of time from Conway. So if he was hoping to make something happen on that lap, traffic is going to impede that. So again, it is Novice from Odell, from Conway, from Leslie, from Van Wagner up top as qualifying ticking down. Now we are past the 15-minute mark, so not sure how many cars are left on the track, but anybody who's already cross the start finish will get to finish their lap. And maybe we can get a track map up to kind of check on how many people are left. And yeah, we see a few cars here. Looks like the 55 is going to be the last car across. That is Josh Leslie. So see if he can take advantage of some air he's got in front of him. And he is coming around turn 9 hot right now. And see if Leslie has a surprise for his competitors at the end here. And That is, yes, Leslie with the heater. And again, look at those gaps up top, Kennen. It is Leslie 200s ahead of Novice, 200s ahead of Sean O'Dell. And Leslie takes advantage of a little gap in traffic and manages to make something happen on his last lap. And he will get the pole here. So holy cow, nice work by Leslie. And we will have your starting grid for you here in a moment as qualifying winds down. And a good job and tip of the hat to Leslie for stepping up when he had the chance to make something happen.
Yeah, that was just an absolutely beautiful lap by Josh Leslie. Waiting until the last possible second, but phenomenal.
All righty, and there is our starting grid. We're going to have, we're going to have Josh Leslie next to Jose Navas in row 1, Odell next to Conway in row 2, Aaron Van Wagner will line up next to Adam Duvall in 5 and 6, Meyer next to Vase in 7 and 8, Guyton next to Swanbeck in 9 and 10, Hagen next to Glasser in 11 and 12, Embriette Hyde will be P13 next to Jim Cotcher, and Cy Nathan will take up the rear in P15. And as we look at our aerial shot there, that is Josh Leslie in the blue car on the inside. So he is going to have the inside entry into turn 1. Looks like we're waiting for Novice and a couple other cars to grid. So Josh will be in the defensive posture heading into turn 1. And remember, we are in a standing start here. These cars, probably needless to say, no traction control, no anti-lock brakes, no nannies of any kind. So we're going to have to get these F4 cars off the line cleanly here and kind of take it easy on the first lap or two to get the tires up to temperature. And the drivers that are impatient in that regard, you're going to see them in the grass, and you're going to see that happen very soon, maybe as early as turn 1. As we wait for the flag here, we got a couple of drivers not yet on the grid. iRacing is going to force the start here in about 30 seconds if these last couple drivers do not get on the grid. But we will have the start for you here momentarily from Lime Rock.
Yeah, you're going to have several drivers really trying to dice for positions. I think turn 1 on lap 1 is going to be a little hairy, but it's going to be your best way to get any type of lead. And I think we're getting ready to see the lights go on here. You see the grid starting to fill out. So we do have a blinker there in third place, but we'll see just how everything looks here. It's 20 minutes. It's going to be to the wall type racing. Everybody's got a chance to win this.
All right, here we go. And there are your starting lights. Keep an eye on Leslie there to your left in the front row. And we are green. 2025 season 3 week 1 underway, and Leslie off to a pretty good start. It's going to be Leslie from Novice from Conway, and Novice sniffing around the outside here. Outside pass doable, but risky, particularly early on cold tires, and a pretty clean start, at least for the front of the grid. Novice still pressing, though. It is Leslie from Novice from Van Wagner as lap 1 gets underway. And tip of the hat to these F4 drivers. They got a clean start at a very difficult track, and things looking real good here early.
It's very classy. A lot of side-by-side racing all through the field. You see them all flying right over the curve. I mean, everybody's stuck right in front of each other, but really beautiful start by Leslie. Get the half-second lead. He's still pulling away 6/10 now going into the final corner. I think he's trying to assert himself this year as a very quick front runner for the championship.
And Van Wagner with a hot start there has already moved up 2 positions, and I'm not sure where he made that happen, but he qualified in P5 all the way up to P3 after 1 lap here. So Van Wagner has lit the wick and is getting off to a good start. Taking a quick look, we're with Van Wagner now, looking behind to Odell, and you see Odell under pressure from that number 77 car, Lloyd Conway, and who is your fast man in practice. So Conway going to take a little peek here on the inside, and they're going to be lined up side by side heading into that difficult chicane, and Odell, discretion being the better part of valor, is going to back out and let Conway through. So Conway moving up as well. Actually, he's just back to his qualifying position after having lots of position early, but right now it is Leslie from Novice, from Wagner, from Conway, from Odell up front, and these laps, folks, are ticking by quick, only 50-second laps. So a 20-minute race, we are going to get quite a few laps in here at Lime Rock, and really, Kennen, amazingly incident-free race so far, and if that's not a commentator's curse, I don't know what is. We'll see what happens on this lap.
we'll have to pay attention now. I mean, you can see there's lots of different groupings coming together. You've got Joshua Leslie really starting to run away with it so far for the opening laps, almost breaking the 1 second lead. But there's lots of different racing all over. You see Odell and Greg Myers swapping places, so it's tough. I don't think Conway, so we've got Odell blinking, maybe changing up the scoreboard there a little bit. But Lloyd Conway, kind of like we talked about in the pre-race, he made a perfect move to the inside, got inside of Odell and was able to kind of force Odell to have to concede the chicane. There's only one way to get through there cleanly. So everybody's done a really beautiful job. They're all kind of separated, nice nip and tuck, good single file racing. I think everybody's trying to position themselves for the end. It is a lot of laps.
Yeah, it is a ton of laps, and you've got to get in a rhythm here. And Leslie really looking good here. You can actually feel the frustration from Conway. He was the fast man in practice and was situated pretty well, sitting in P3 for qualifying until Leslie stormed through the field and got that pole. And Leslie now driving away, stretching that gap almost up to a second, and also a pretty big gap developing between Navas and Van Wagner. So Leslie now almost kind of has the hard job, Kennen. He's got to get in a rhythm, be smooth, be consistent, and just keep the car on the track and tick those laps away. It's sometimes harder to go fast when you're not chasing anybody, but not getting in Leslie's way now as that gap has increased another 4/10 in that lap. Leslie has lit the wick here and is the fast man on track with a 51.052, and he's likely to take several more tenths out of that time before this race is over.
The thing you really have to think about is how hard are they pushing the cars, how hot's he getting the tires. These long kind of winding corners, I mean, they do put a good bit of heat in the tires. If you're overdriving it, you can kind of watch it slip away even in a 20-minute race. So you have to watch that. You want to make sure you don't overdrive it. And even myself as a driver, sometimes you find yourself pushing at every lap. You want to go a little bit faster. And next thing you know, you've made a mistake. So you have to know you've got a second lead. You're able to manage it a little bit. Navas actually putting together a faster lap this time around. So maybe we'll see a little more pressure on him. That's going to change the whole way you race.
Yeah, and going to get a quick replay here. And looking at Glasser now. And just a little smooch of grass there on turn one and a little over rotation. Got to keep it clean on this track. There's dirt and grass right up to the edge of the course, and there is there is another car off in the weeds there. Taking a look at Vase now on the replay, and oh my goodness, Medic. I don't know if there's enough fast repair in the world for him, but as you watch the Gremlins throw the wheels back on that car, he will be back underway. But that was a huge off right there. A pretty typical place if you lock up and overcook that entry right there, you end up in that tire barrier. And actually been some pretty significant incidents there in the real racing world. So not surprised to see that. Oh, and a little side-by-side in turn 9. And that is got to be Meyer on, or Guyton on Meyer there. Went through turn 9 side-by-side. And things getting racy there for P7 with 5 minutes gone in this one, Kennen.
Starting to see the laps have started to tick off a little bit. Everybody's settled in, but now you're starting to kind of question if the guy in front of you is holding you up. So you have to kind of start making a move on him, working your way up and down the line, up and through the field. And this is kind of what you're going to see. You're going to see tough races. There's only so many spots where you can get such an advantage, so you really have to take them when you get them. They don't come very often on a very short track like Lime Rock.
Yeah, not a great traffic path. Not a great passing track, and as a result, this is one of these tracks where you just want to apply pressure and force a mistake, and we saw a little bit of that there as Guyton polishing Meyer's bumper, showing his nose. And is that an outside move on Conway there? That is Odell kind of sniffing around outside Conway on turn 1, trying to make something happen. As I said, a pass doable there, but definitely rolling the dice. If you get a little bit of a wide exit there, you're going to be hard into those tires, and we saw that once already as Conway still relentless pressure from behind from Odell. And as you look at our timing tower there, those red numbers are showing intervals less than 0.5. So as you see right there, Navas from Van Wagner, from Conway, from Odell, all less than a half a second gap as those cars are starting to train up. And Kennen, this one is going to come to blows in the very near future.
It's like you can see in this camera shot, that is the top 5 right there on the camera. As much as we make it seem like Joshua Leslie's running away, it's only down to 0.8 of a second lead, now up to 9. He's maybe holding around a second. Everybody's right on top of each other. This race is still any one of these top 5 drivers' chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, we are possibly going to see some back markers get involved in this. The car in the back right now is about 6 seconds off of the lead. Well, actually, they might be able to get through this one clean. Oh, and what a move by Odell on Conway. We talked about whether or not there was going to be a passing opportunity into turn 5, that chicane. And oh my goodness, that takes some stones to stick it in there, and it takes some patience by Conway to take a breath, realize it's over, and back out, or that one could have ended in tragedy for both drivers.
Quite an aggressive move. I mean, we've seen Conway and Odell both going back and forth with each other the whole race. I think Conway will get himself situated and get right back up behind him. So that'll be an interesting battle to see all race long. And they just don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize themselves from this top crew right now. You've got 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place all right in front of you. You don't want to do anything that costs you an opportunity of going for that at the end of the race. We're not halfway there yet. Everybody's looking pretty good. Overall, it's been a very clean race. I'm not really too worried about incidents. Everybody seems to be doing a good bit of give and taking, but you don't want to do something where you hit a curve, you spin out, you get a little slow, kill the momentum. There's lots of different ways you can make a mistake here.
And some great camera work there by our producer as you see those massive red curves there on that chicane leading up the hill around the old turn 5 and riding along with Van Wagner. Now he's got only a 2/10 gap ahead to Novice, and it's like Leslie has stretched out that gap again. That gap between Leslie and Novice going back and forth like an accordion right now. It was 0.7 the last lap, and now it's back up to 1.7. So not really sure what is going on that's causing that, but that fight continues between Conway and Odell, and I have a feeling that if both cars stay on the track, we're going to see this one continuing throughout the entire race. Conway's going to take a peek there into the chicane, but again, he might have just been trying to show his nose and force a mistake by Odell. Odell stays frosty, stays ahead, and stays in 4th. It is Leslie from Novice, from Van Wagner, from Odell, from Conway, and then 6 through 10 are Duvall, Meyer, Guyton, Swanback, and Tyler Hagen, with Embriette Hyde back there in P11 trying to catch up to Hagen and break into the top 10.
It's a very competitive start to the season so far. We've seen really clean racing, but I think this is just kind of showing what this F4 season is going to be about a lot more. We don't have the 3 different classes. It's not so intertwined. This is really showing the best of the best of the captain Jason Cotcher would describe as their JV squad now with the Formula 4. So it's a good look here, and Jim Cotcher going into turn 1. Looks like he enters a little wide, might catch the grass, and he does. Goes very wide, spins it out. So I think he might have fallen off the edge of the earth there, as we all know in iRacing, and he did. So he'll be reset to pit road and have to take a tow, but did a good job of keeping it off the wall there going through turn 1.
Yeah, the elder Cotcher there pirouetting into another dimension right before our eyes. And meanwhile, here is Van Wagner now trying to chase down Novice. That gap has increased a little bit now, Novice with about a half-second advantage. And up ahead of Novice, you see Josh Leslie is about 2 seconds up the road now, and there are some back markers potentially getting involved up here. You see a couple cars entering the chicane right now up ahead of this group, and those two are not both on the lead lap. So as I thought, back markers may get involved here late. Only 11 minutes in with 9 remaining, and it has been nonstop action. And yeah, here is Leslie. He is looking forward at someone. I'm not sure who that is. And Leslie, even though he has a 2-minute lead here, is going to try to stick it into turn 1, and that other driver helps him out there and lets Leslie through. So Leslie has bypassed the first kind of obstacle right now, and that gap between him and Novice remains at 1.8. So well done by both drivers there. Somebody getting the blue flag as Leslie came through, moved over nicely in turn 1, and let Leslie off down the track, and he's on his way.
Certainly an advantage. Haven't really seen it really show, but Leslie's definitely found some speed the last 3 or 4 laps that Novice hasn't been able to match, and we'll see whether maybe the pressure that Van Wagner's putting on Novice is kind of making him a little hesitant on what's going into his mirrors. He's not able to pay attention too much out the front, but you've kind of seen where that is. But somewhere Leslie has had an issue because Novice right back knocks a whole second off the lead right there. Just in the last 2 turns, it went 1.8 to now just a 9/10 gap. So we're really seeing a weird display of times going back and forth trying to have a race for the lead.
Yeah, and little small errors can make those gaps drop in a big hurry. Only 160 horsepower in these cars, so small mistakes, you can't hide them with your right foot if you make them. And also, these leaders are going through some traffic right now, so only 12 minutes in, and back markers are getting involved in this one as we ride along with Van Wagner looking ahead at Novice, and that is Josh Leslie going down the hill into turn 9. So that interval has closed up, and we'll stay with Wagner here just for a minute, see if that see if the slipstream can close that gap down. You see it closing down a little bit, but doesn't get much closer than 0.3. And Novice with a big slide there, and that drifting, folks, may look cool, but those rear tires do not like it, and it is not the fast way around these corners. So Van Wagner is pushing Novice into some little bit of out of control driving there, and a little excessive slip angle, and that could end up biting Novice when he does not want it to. And Wagner continuing to pile on the pressure, and you see that gap drop again between Novice and Leslie, and it looks like Leslie might be struggling up the chicane, Kennen.
It seems like he's not quite getting up the chicane as fast, and it's really what it's costing him is the entire run back down the hill across the front stretch. So see Novice pulling all the way to the inside. I think he's trying to break the draft, but Van Wagner might try and make an outside move here. He was pretty aggressive entering turn 1 last time. He chooses better of it, it looks like. So
but he's going to get the over-under, and
wow.
that is a common occurrence at Lime Rock. If somebody covers the inside, they get that shallow entry. It blows their exit speed, and if you take the normal line behind, you can go right by them like they were pulling an anchor, and you saw Van Wagner do it there after forcing a couple of errors out of Novice, forcing Novice to take an extreme defensive posture into turn 1. Van Wagner cashes in and is now sitting in P2. It is Leslie from Van Wagner from Novice, and all these cars sticking together pretty closely. Got Conway back 1.3 back of Novice, and then a pretty big gap back to Greg Meyer. So really, we're looking at the top 4 right now with about 5.5, little over 5 minutes remaining.
You have to think with that aggressive of a move, I mean, it was very well done over and under in turn 1 and 2 by Van Wagner, but he must feel that he's got something for Leslie up there at the front. I mean, last lap so far, he hasn't really put any gain on him through the first couple of corners, but he must feel like he was getting held up pretty tough to make that aggressive of a move. There's still 5 minutes left in the race. I think he could have set him up anytime he wanted, so we'll have to kind of see what happens here if he has enough time with 5 minutes to get to first.
And there is Swanbeck and Duval doing a little lawnmower racing there, and they're back in the grass again, and they're beating those F4 cars to death here, fighting it out over P7, and Swanbeck able to pull out a little bit of a gap there. He's got it over a second, but they were side by side down the front straight. Had a little tussle going into turn 1, and Swanbeck has emerged on the top side of that, and all of a sudden that gap is all the way up to 1.4. So Swanbeck driving off and hanging on to P7. We're going to jump back to Novice now, and here we go. Leslie, Van Wagner, and Novice are hitting traffic. Conway as well, looking back out of Novice's car, looking at Conway, and more back markers here. 4 minutes remaining, and back markers still playing a role here. And look at those intervals now. 0.8 between Leslie and Van Wagner, 0.5 to Novice, 0.3 to Conway. So these front 4 cars piling up here, coming down to crunch time. And is Leslie going to be able to hang on? He has been pretty chill driver in the past, but you saw him take a pretty defensive entry into turn 9, and you can only do that for so long. I don't think he'll be able to hold that kind of defensive driving for 4 minutes. Overcooks that entry just a little bit, watches wide, and look at Van Wagner reeling him in that gap, now down to 0.7.
See, this is as close as Aaron Van Wagner's been the entire race since he took over second place, so he's really getting the opportunity. You see Leslie running wide again, now almost under 3/10. He may have a chance on the front stretch with the draft to go for the lead into turn 1. This is really surprising, Leslie, whether maybe the tires have kind of fallen off on him a little bit. It's really the first time we've seen him actually see any contesting for the lead the entire race. So this is certainly putting the pressure on, and there's only 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, Van Wagner loving what he is seeing right now, looking ahead at Josh Leslie, and Leslie driving defensively, taking some bad lines, washing out of some of these corners. You see Leslie duck way inside to try to break that slipstream, and Van Wagner is making it happen around the outside of turn one. I told you it was doable, but tough, and Van Wagner has shown that he is tough, gets it done, and will take the lead from Leslie. It is Van Wagner from Leslie from Conway, who, by the way, got past Navis on the last lap as well. These top 4 drivers starting to scrap here as time winds down.
See, everybody's starting to put everything they've got in the car. I mean, we saw the onboard of Josh Leslie going through turn 4, and he's just doing everything he can with the wheel to fight to keep the thing on track right now. I think his tires are just very well overused. He pushed them a little too hard, and you can kind of see the second and third placer taking a look at him, and I think Conway might get him on the straightaway here. Oh, yeah, they almost touched on the straightaway.
Yeah, Conway likes his chances against Leslie and actually is going to be side by side into turn 1. Oh, and Leslie drags a tire. Oh. Leslie has abused those fronts. Leslie's front tires have said, no thanks, no moss, I'm out. Leslie down to Sorry, that's Conway down to P3 now. Holy cow, so much action. I'm losing track of what's going on. But right now it is Van Wagner from Leslie from Conway. And here is some more little kerfuffle in the turn 1-2 complex. That is Guyton. Looks like he got loose, and he's immediately getting swamped. Yeah, these tires, Kennen, starting to give out. You got to, pro tip, when the fuel load lightens up on these cars and you start locking up the fronts, you got to crank back that brake bias rearward. This is a fixed setup, but you can still adjust the brake bias while you're driving, and that's something that's an absolute necessity in driving these cars. Taking a look at Van Wagner now, suddenly looking like he is going to drive away. He's got a 1.1 gap back to Josh Leslie. So it is Van Wagner from Leslie, from Conway, from Navis, and then a pretty big gap, 11 seconds, back to Greg Meyer in 5th.
That's quite a mix-up. We're probably looking at Van Wagner coming to the white flag this time, and may have already taken it, but I don't believe so. We'll have to look at the flag stand when they come back by. But I'm sure Conway's crew is on top of the pit box already filling out the protest paperwork to have a speak with race control about that move in turn 1. So this will be kind of interesting. We see Aaron Van Wagner coming across the straightaway. He's going to take the white flag this time. He's in a really nice position to get this win.
And Josh Leslie not safe here in turn in P2. He's got Conway all over him here and feeling the pressure. He has been driving in his rearview mirrors. He has beaten the tar out of those front tires. They're no longer cooperating with him, and Conway is going to have a crack here. We've already seen Conway pull off a move into the chicane here. Not quite close enough, though, about 4/10 back, and he could potentially have a crack coming down the hill here, but it looks like Leslie is going to hang on, and a pretty good drive by him. But Kennen, you know that he wishes he was still in P1. Had a couple of errors that cost him this victory, and we will ride along with Van Wagner across the finish line, and Van Wagner gets it done, up 4 positions from his qualifying spot in P5. And what a fantastic drive. You see Conway there stuffing his car out of joy of the podium or frustration not getting the win there. But there is Van Wagner cooling off, and it's Van Wagner from Leslie, from Conway, from Navis, from Greg Meyer, and all the action in this one up front between a handful of cars. We lost one of them along the way. It was 5 cars initially about the first half of the race. The second half, it was all Van Wagner, Leslie, and Conway. And Van Wagner absolutely gets the drive of the day for making that P1 happen out of P4. He was relentless. He took care of his tires, and he was able to make the moves happen down the stretch when it counted.
And let's not forget, he made the move for the lead on the outside. I mean, the only person that I think actually completed an outside pass the entire race, and it was for the lead, and it was just absolutely well done, well driven by him. Fantastic job of driving on the tires. And here we're going to take another look at him going for the lead. You see Leslie kind of knew he was already going to be overtaken, had to take the defensive line, and then just full-on power, trust on the brakes, the balance of the car. Got it just clear enough to be able to put the wing in front of the front wing of Joshua Leslie, and then from there, you just kind of have to hold tight, and he really broke away from there. It was all his.
Yeah, and here it is from Van Wagner's standpoint. And Kennen, I think Leslie was surprised by this. I think that he thought he was going to be able to hold the inside and didn't think Van Wagner was going to be able to get that move done. And yeah, Van Wagner did get it done. I told you folks it was possible, but very, very difficult. And Van Wagner getting the Lime Rock merit badge for making that one happen. That was absolutely amazing. Whew. And we're going to have your final results for you here in just 1 second. But what a fantastic start to season 3 of 2025, Kennen, and week 1 of SRG F4 racing here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. So it is Aaron Van Wagner with the drive of the day and the move of the day to win this one, from Lloyd Conway in P2, Jose Navas in P3, Greg Meyer in 4, Dan Swanbeck will round out your top 5. Then it's Guyton from Duvall, from Odell, from Hagen, Embriette Hyde. We talked about her. She did manage to push up into the top 10. She was hanging around P11 and battling Glasser, I think, for that position for a lot of that race. Gets it done down the stretch. Then it's Glasser from Josh Leslie, who is showing in P12. He might have gotten, I wonder if that is a penalty for incidents during the race. That is a surprise to me, seeing him all the way down in P12. And that, oh my gosh, that is going from bad to worse from Leslie, who had a chance to win it and falls out of the top 10. That is unbelievable. In any event, it's Michael Hunn next in 13, then Cy Nathan in 14, Jim Cotcher in 15. We'll have Vase in P16 to round out your 16 car grid here at Lime Rock. And my goodness, Kennen, I didn't really know what to expect. We had a big change in our Sim Racers group racing for this season. The top half of the grid moving to F3 tomorrow night. These are the remaining folks in F4 and a few new people on a very difficult track. Our first week together, and they put on a fantastic show. You could not ask for better.
No, you really couldn't. It was just an absolutely fantastic start to the season. I think we've shown we've got a really good group of Sim Racer Group Formula 4 drivers, and not much difference in speed between first or last place. That I think you're going to see some of the guys that maybe didn't have as good of a run at Lime Rock Park. They're going to show up for some of the different tracks that we do have on the schedule throughout the next 11 weeks. We will have to make sure to clarify with our watchers next week, because I don't know, I'm showing Joshua Leslie only had 8 incidents, so I don't know if there was maybe something implemented from race control on that. So we'll have to make sure we keep you all in tune with that, because that is a huge blow. For even second place would have been a good start to the season, a good point stay. Now you're down 12 positions on points. That's a really hard start to the season.
And it is, and they do have drop weeks, and it is only week 1 of 12. So Josh, don't hang up your helmet. It was a great drive, really, overall. That's racing, and if that's why we have the races, to kind of see what would happen, and things didn't go Josh's way today. But looking out in the green room, looks like we have a few folks stopping by to chat with us, and I'm going to start with Adam Duvall, who finished this one in P8. And Adam, 2025 season 3 week 1, what did you think of Lime Rock, and how did you like driving with this smaller field of F4 competitors today?
Well, firstly, I really enjoyed not tripping over 35 guys, especially a place like this, I knew this was going to be hard. I didn't qualify well. And then unfortunately somebody spun and didn't wait and clipped me. But I was able to salvage 7 or 8 or whatever, so decent start. It's a long season.
Yeah, it's definitely a long season and good recovery drive. You finished in the top half of the grid, and we're taking a look at your car, and I definitely have to give you the tip of the hat to that NASA livery. Pretty good looking car out there, and definitely want to encourage folks to get on Trading Paints and give us some good liveries for the broadcast. So car's looking good out there. So we have switched over. Last season, we had the regional schedule of Australia and Japan, which had some tracks which I thought were not great for these cars. This season, we're on the North America schedule. So looking forward at the schedule. How do you think it looks? And is there any track that you're really looking forward to?
I like it. The only unfortunate part is I don't know a ton of American tracks because I'm a F1 guy, not an Indy guy, you know. So I'll be learning a few of those. But like Watkins is always great racing. I forget what else on there. I was bummed Coda wasn't on there because I need an excuse to learn that track.
Yeah, Coda would be definitely interesting in these things, and I think they do perform well at tracks like that, F1 tracks, where they can get a little more speed going and take advantage of some of that aero and mechanical grip. So, yeah, we're going to see a lot of high-speed tracks, less of those kind of go-kart tracks that we had in last season. So it should be a pretty good season, and you guys definitely got off to a great start. I know you're going to go back and watch the broadcast later tonight, and I hope you enjoy that. So as we conclude, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout-out to today?
Just want to thank my wife for letting me have this obsession or hobby, whatever you want to say. And then also just want to thank you guys and Jason. This has been a huge addition to the already built league. Having this broadcast, it's so cool.
All right. Well, it is certainly cool to do. It is our pleasure. We love the shows that you guys put on, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic season. So, Adam, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, Kennen, let me grab, I'm going to go ahead and grab Embriette Hyde, who grabbed a P10 tonight, and let you have a chat with her.
Hey, Embriette, this is Kennen. Oh, see you, Embriette.
Oh, you know.
Apparently maybe not ready. I was going to point out, if she isn't available for an interview, we can't let it be known. Finished on the lead lap, only one incident. One of the cleanest drivers in the race.
Hello.
Oh, there she
Hey,
is.
Amber, this is Kennen. You got a copy?
Copy.
So we were just prefacing a absolutely clean race by you, finishing P10 on the lead lap. One incident, by far the cleanest driver out there. I think the whole day we saw cars going off left and right. How would you describe your race?
Yeah, I was pretty pleased with that. I was really bummed when I got the 1X. I think that happened maybe on the 4th or 3rd lap before the finish, and I just made a slight mistake breaking into the chicane, and I was like, oh man. I think my tires were just starting to get a little cooked at that point and took me off guard. But yeah, overall, I'm super happy with the clean race. That's usually my goal when I go into it, because typically the cleaner you are, the more you survive. People are going to have incidents in front of you, even if they're faster, and sometimes you can make up positions that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you see where the points will add up throughout the whole 12 weeks of the season. And looking forward to the season, we have a totally different set list of tracks than we did last season. Is there anything on the schedule really getting things going you've already got circled you're looking forward to, or just overall doing more American tracks than what we did doing the Asian and Japanese style tracks of before?
Yeah, I'm just excited. I think about tracks that aren't so small and narrow. We had a lot of those last season, especially towards the end, and maybe that would be different. You know, this season we have a lot less cars in the field. You know, it changes things when you go from 30 to 15, but I'm really excited for some longer tracks. I'm a little bummed I'm going to miss Watkins Glen next week, but, you know, that's life.
Yeah, that's just kind of the way it goes, unfortunately. But thankfully, there is 2 drop weeks, so it won't affect your point standing position. You'll be able to make up for it. And I guess lastly, anybody you'd like to thank, shout out some supporters for helping you be here today.
Yeah, I have kind of a small following. I've got a couple fans in North Carolina, young boys that really like watching this. They love playing car video games with their dad. And I just hope that this kind of encourages them to try to find, I don't know if there's anything like this where they live, but if there is, I'm sure they'll try to find it. And my mom, of course, she watches every race. She gets super excited. So you said there were some incidents. It seemed pretty calm where I was. So if there were incidents, I'm sure she got really excited about those. And yeah, I got to thank Jason. You know, he's always trying to improve the league. It is new this season with fewer cars since the opportunity at one, and the aliens got punted off to a different league. And it's certainly changing things up. Like I noticed tonight, it was just a lot calmer, and I had more opportunity to race with people. So that was really fun, and that's all because of Jason. He's constantly thinking about how to make things better and how to improve the leagues, because at the end of the day, as he always says, it's about having fun. And I had a lot of fun tonight, so I think he's achieving his goal.
Yeah, the captain, Jason Cotcher, he put so much time into this, and I do stand behind you. We need more places like the Sim Racers group in East San Jose. We need those all throughout the country and the world. We need more and more of them everywhere. I think they'd be awesome. So thank you so much, Embry, for coming in. Look forward to having you the whole season. Have a nice off week, and we'll see you back for week 3.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Embry Hyde pulled off a P10 in that one, and I think she had a pretty good time. And our last person to be interviewed here, I think, is Greg Meyer. Do we got you in here, Greg?
Yes, sir.
Greg, well, welcome to the commentary booth. Thanks for coming up and chatting with us. You pulled a P5 today, moving up 2 positions from your qualifying, and this must have been kind of a different feel. Last season, things could be pretty hectic with 35 or 40 cars, pretty reasonable field for a small track here at Lime Rock. So how did you enjoy the first week of a new season?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think compared to last season gave me the advantage this season to kind of know it's just so much easier when you remove 10, 15 people. So I think I'm really excited for this season, and it's off to a good start, it seems like, so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're checking out your car going around the track right now, and with the Taco Bell livery, it looks great.
Oh,
and
yes.
Thanks for taking the time to give us some liveries to show on the broadcast. And we've been talking a little bit about the schedule with some of your co-drivers, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't super crazy about the Aussie Japanese schedule last year. Now we're on the North American schedule, and it looks awesome to me. So as you look forward to the next 11 weeks of competition here, how do some of these tracks look to you, and is there any that stand out on the upcoming schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always nice to kind of come home for Laguna at WeatherTech, but honestly, we have Mid-Ohio, Watkins, and then Mid-Ohio, and both of those I'm really excited for. I've never driven Indianapolis or Barber, so there's a couple tracks I've never driven before, and so those will be exciting. But I'm just excited to do the America tracks. Like you said, the Asian tracks are fun, but for me personally, I've known those tracks and I've done them a lot. These ones I don't know so much, so I'm kind of excited to learn some new tracks.
Yeah, right with you on that. Barber is a fantastic track, and these little F4 cars are going to eat up Barber. It is going to be an absolute hoot. So, I'm looking forward to the season as well. We had a great time calling the season last season, and are looking forward to what is in store this coming season. So, again, thanks for stopping by and chatting with us. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Oh, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And I just want to give a shout out to all my Raver kids watching. So thank you.
Right on. Shout out to the Raver kids. And thanks again, Greg, for stopping by. And we will catch up with you next week.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that is going to conclude our interviews today. And we do have a fantastic schedule, and I don't mean to complain too much about the schedule last time, but we had some very, very tight tracks, kind of like go-kart tracks with very high curbs, and didn't really let these F4 cars stretch their legs. And Kennen, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think they are able to show what they've got a lot better with a little speed and with an opportunity to stretch their legs. And this schedule, this coming season, it has a lot more of that kind of racing. So I think we're going to have some great competition in season 3. All right,
Gotcha.
We just had an update from our producer, and Josh Leslie was doing donuts after the race and drew an AI penalty for that from iRacing. We are going to, the league admins are going to administratively remove that penalty, and Leslie is going to end up back in GP2. So a couple of people that we just talked to lost a spot, but I don't think Josh should lose a spot for doing a couple donuts after that great drive that he put in. So that is that. So I want you to stay with Slow Motion Broadcasting. We have got some great stuff coming up. Tomorrow night, we will be back with more Sim Racers Group competition. We are going to be driving in Formula 3 cars at Imola with some of last season's F4 stars. You are going to want to see that for sure. On Thursday, the Extreme Scoring IndyCar finale will take place at the Gateway Oval. Saturday, Weekend Warriors will see Formula Vs at Olton Park. Never, ever miss a race at Olton Park. And then Ron's Race Nights will see Super Formula cars back at Imola. Sunday, XSLR Round 13 will see GT3 action at Road Atlanta. And I just want to mention some special events coming up this summer. July 3rd, we'll have a USRA 160-lap ARCA event with cash prizes. And on July 26th, we're planning a 3-hour enduro. Haven't sorted out all the classes, but you GT3 bros, there will be GT3s involved in that one with cash prizes. So I am JR Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner, Kennen Miller, our producer, Marty, Czekala, and everyone here at SMB. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and hang on, baby. The weekend's coming.